In this video, I'm going to explain one of the more advanced HMO investment strategies. That is, creating HMOs and then selling them for a profit. Hi, my name is Mark Lloyd. I'm co-founder of Property Master Academy, and I've been investing in property since 2005. Now, if you've not set up any HMOs yet, you might want to hold fire on this strategy until you have a bit more experience. But it is definitely an opportunity you should know about and bear in mind for future. So firstly, why would you want to set up an HMO and then sell it? Well, generally, we think of property as being a long-term investment, and HMOs are notorious for being good income-generating investments. So why would you want to create an HMO and sell it within a short time frame? Well, the answer is that it can be a very good way to make a large pot of cash relatively quickly, and here's why. An up and running income-generating HMO should always be worth more than an empty house. Very simple. And to give a very simple example as well, and I should emphasise this is just an example and not any sort of guarantee, a property that you buy for, say, $440,000 and spend £30,000 on renovating it could be worth £520,000 as a house, but it could be worth upwards of $600,000 as a fully let up and running HMO. So by selling your HMO, you can make a cash lump sum in the short term rather than income in the longer term. And you can take that lump sum as profit or invest it into more property investments. I should point out that although this is one of the more advanced HMO strategies, it's not as risky as you might think. Because if, once you have set up your HMO, you decide not to sell it immediately, then you can simply keep running it as an HMO until you do. Next, let's look at what the sales market is like for HMOs. I think it's important to point out that the market for HMOs is quite a small and niche market. There are far fewer prospective buyers for an HMO than for an ordinary house. But there are people out there who want to buy an HMO as an investment. Now, some of these people don't know how to set up an HMO. Some of these people don't have the time to set up an HMO. But they do have the money to invest in an income-generating investment like an HMO. So as well as private individuals, there are companies and investment funds who might be interested in buying your HMOs. One quite exciting thing to know is that potential HMO investors may well be cash rich. They don't always need a mortgage, and they will literally have a pot of cash and are looking for a good home for it. And that could be your HMO. So exactly how do you create an HMO with a view to selling it for a profit? Well, the answer is that it's exactly the same as setting up an HMO you plan on keeping. It's just the same, although perhaps with one or two important points to bear in mind. So what type of HMO can you create to sell? Well, you can create any type of HMO with a view to selling it, but I'd suggest it as a high-yielding HMO as possible. Student HMOs are often very good for this reason. What areas are good for this type of project? Well, again, the criteria you should follow are the same as for any other HMO. It needs to be an area with good demand for HMO accommodation, and, as I've just said, an area with strong yields. And that usually means an area with lower property prices. I'd also recommend you do some market research to see what the market is like for buying and selling HMOs in that area. Now, you can ask local estate agents if they've sold any HMOs in the last year or so. Ask them if they get inquiries from people wanting to buy HMOs. You can also use websites like Rightmove and Zoopla to see what HMOs are for sale in popular HMO areas, and use a site like nethouseprices.com to find recent sales prices of properties in those same areas. So what rules and regulations apply when you're creating an HMO to sell it rather than keep it? Well, again, these are exactly the same as when creating an HMO to keep it long term. Your HMO will need to meet all the same standards, and you may need planning, permission, and you may need a license, depending on size and location. However, it's important to bear in mind you can't simply transfer an HMO license when you sell the property. The buyer will need to be able to get an HMO license in their own name in order for the sale to go through. So, once someone makes an offer, you should check that they are likely to be able to get one before accepting it. Oh, and by the way, I've produced lots of other videos that cover everything you need to know about setting up an HMO in much more detail, so I recommend you take a look at some of them once you've finished watching this video, and you'll see them on our channel. So moving on, let's take a look at how to sell your HMO. Now, even if you're not planning on creating HMOs with a view to selling them, you will find this information useful. It will come in handy if you need to sell an HMO at some point in the future. So firstly, it's very important to point out that selling an HMO is likely to take longer than selling an ordinary house. The conveyancing process, obtaining and settling finance, and arranging a license and so on can easily take up to 6 months. So I suggest that you always take advice and get a valuation from a surveyor who is experienced in valuing HMOs. Ask them about the possibility of a commercial valuation for your HMO. Now, this may be higher than a bricks and mortar valuation. Ensure that all the paperwork is in order and collect it together. For example, your HMO license, planning documents, fire safety, and other safety certificates and tenancy agreements. Just as when selling a house, you can use an estate agent, either an online one or a conventional one, to sell your HMO. Now, if you do this, I recommend you choose one who has some experience of selling HMOs. There are also some specialist HMO sales agencies you could use as well. And auctions are another way to sell an HMO. You could also try selling your HMO yourself using local advertising or word of mouth with other investors, and so on, and so save on estate agency fees. Well, lastly, here's another good reason for creating HMOs to sell, which you might want to consider. When you sell an HMO, you can either sell it outright and take your money, or you can sell it with some kind of management agreement in place where you keep on managing and running the HMO for the new owner. And that could be just a management or perhaps even a rent to rent. Though that's if both you and the buyer are interested in doing so, of course. And I think you can probably see what a great opportunity that could be. Not only can you make a profit from selling your HMO, you will still be able to generate a regular monthly income from running it too. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button so that others just like you will get to see it, and also subscribe to our channel so you'll get notified of other videos that we post each and every week. Also appearing on your screen right now will be more videos that will help you in your property business. Thanks for listening.